Hi everyone, my name is Marcy Dalakwa Uni and I am joined with Pastor Wale and Pastor Laolu Adefarasin as we talk about one of life's most profound journeys, marriage. Now we know in this day and age it might be difficult to find a marriage that has lasted up to 10 years, let alone 38. Yes, they are celebrating 38 years of marriage and counting. So join me as we delve into the essence of their union. Pastor Wale, Pastor Laolu, great to see you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thank you for having us. So let us start from the very beginning, okay? We're going to talk about newlyweds. So we have specific challenges that people are facing in marriages in this day and age. So for example, couples where one person might want to have sex and the other person doesn't, money matters, or women in the workplace, men in the workplace, a woman is making a significantly higher salary, she's the CEO of a company, and that differs to perhaps something that was happening 50, 60 years ago. What sort of advice would you give to people having those sort of challenges?
Well, let's talk about the money first and the income earning. I think the world has changed. First of all, most families need two incomes now. And if the woman is the higher earner, then all well and good. Because I know in the West, they take decisions like, okay, the husband stays at home because he's not going to have as much earning power as his wife, who has more earning power. It's a question of confidence. What confidence do you have in yourself, your marriage, as a couple? Are you ready to, acknowledge the fact that, yes, as a man, that your wife earns more, and so because she has a higher earning power, then let her go out and earn more and give her the liberty to do that. And you need to have enough confidence in yourself and in your relationship to know that that will work. Money will always be an issue, I think, because money is an issue in the world. My husband has been trying to get me to budget for nearly 40 years. I can't budget, and I don't know why he still keeps asking for a budget. I've never done it. I'm not going to do it. Why do you keep asking me for a budget? I can't budget. I spend as I see, and I spend. The other day, I went to the supermarket with my grandson, and I sort of gave him my list. I put him in the trolley, gave him my list. I said, tell me what's next. And we picked everything on the list, and I picked something else. He says, Grandma, that's not on your list. So I said, there's sometimes you go to the supermarket, you find things that you didn't know you needed until you saw it. And then, and my daughter says to me, that's not a good learning. But yeah, for me, it's something I probably need to learn. I need to do it, but at nearly 70, when am I going to learn to start budgeting? Please help me. Help me out. If you have any ideas, please let me know how I can learn to budget.
The thing is, you do budget, because if you write a list, that's budgeting. It's just...
But I never stick to the list.
Well, then comes the sophisticated budgeting, But let me go to the subject of the insecurities that men can sometimes feel.
Okay.
Because when a man feels threatened by his wife, it's an insecurity. And I think his wife has a responsibility not to feed that insecurity by being insensitive. They're just, if a man who is already feeling insecure and she pays the rent in the house, and then she says, I think we should paint the house and we should paint it green. Straight away, he's thinking it's only because she's the one that pays the rent. If I said paint it red, she'll say, no, green.
How would you paint your house red?
Well, it's just an example.
Or green.
It's just an example. So, it's important that a wife in those circumstances is a little more sensitive to the fact that husband is insecure. And you can't underwrite the value of communication. If a couple are talking and they're talking regularly, it solves so many problems. You talked about the sex problem. If they are talking about it, then there's a greater chance that they will resolve whatever problems exist. But talk first, sit down and talk. My son and his wife, they do date nights. I think they still do. It's not a night to talk about bills and things like that. It's a night to talk about themselves. It's a night to be able to...
When are we going on a date night?
Oh,
You just name it.
Can I just quickly touch on gender roles? Because we spoke about, being sensitive if somebody is feeling insecure. So if, for example, the woman is the higher earner and, be sensitive, but she's the CEO of a company and she's working all day long, and I know this is a particular subject that a lot of people talk about, and she gets home at 10 p.m. and the husband is waiting for her because he doesn't want to cook or feels that he shouldn't have to due to gender roles. What advice would you give to this kind of couple? Because I think there are a lot of couples out there that they believe it doesn't matter how much my wife is earning, it doesn't matter how long she's at the office, she's going to come home and she's going to cook. What advice would you give to this kind of couple?
Now that is a tough one. And that is a problem that would normally have been resolved during premarital counseling. Now, assume they didn't have premarital counseling and they've found themselves in this situation. One just has to there are two types of people that go into marriage. There's the traditional, the wife has her set roles, and there's the modern, where the husband takes out the trash because it's there and it needs to be taken out. He's there, so he cooks because they won't eat unless he's there, he's available. So they need to sort out, are they a traditional couple? If they are, then maybe the wife has to find a way of getting home earlier so she can make the meal. But they know that they are traditional and they believe in traditional roles. Personally, my belief is that we're moving away from the traditional stuff. And we're now in a whole different society to what my grandfather and my father lived in. And so we need to be more modern in our outlook. That doesn't mean we should be stupid, but we need to approach roles in a marriage with a lot more common sense.
Okay.
Can I just add to that? Because the question you asked, so what's this man doing? He closes at 6 and she closes at 10.
It closes earlier, yes.
So what's he doing between 6 and 10?
That is the question. But he believes gender roles that he should not have to, and the wife should. So he's waiting for
And he's going to sit there starving until she gets back.
I guess so.
I think.
I mean, just an example. But I have heard that there are people like this.
I can believe it, But, as he said, there's the days and the times have changed.
Significantly.
And women learn to, prepare meals, prep. What do you call it? Prep meals, something that you can stick in the microwave when it gets back, or he can vomit and eat it, But these are things that you could have agreed with each other. It's not you need to choose your battles. That's not a battle that needs to be fought. And I guess, it comes from communication. We've talked about it. But if you're just sitting there waiting because you can't be, because that's not your role. You're cutting your nose to spite your face. You're not going to eat before 10. It's not good for you. It's not healthy to eat at 10. So, so I think, we need to be more practical.
Okay.
People need to be more practical in their roles in marriage today.
I use an example as an illustration. I'm told this is a true story.
Okay.
Two doctors got married. He was in work and she was looking for a job. Now, you wouldn't expect it to take very long for a doctor to find a job. And they both, they lived in the Lekki axis. And their parents lived a little further up on the Lekki axis. Now, she got 2 job offers, and she went to her husband and said, look at these 2 offers. And her husband suggested offer A. Now, her father would always stop at their home on his way to his home every evening.
Red flag.
Red flag. And she showed her father the 2 offers. And he said, take offer B. And he put so much pressure on her, she took offer B.
Right.
It led eventually to the breakup of the marriage because the husband said, if you want to, you can go and marry your father. But he can't be coming to give us rules in our home. You know.
I think that's parenting 101, especially for older people that don't butt into their marriage. Let them make their own decisions, make their own mistakes if they have to. But you're always there to counsel. You're always there to, give advice if they ask you for it.
Could you both touch on this? If the purpose of marriage is not to make one happy, but to make one holy, could you explain that to people that might, because you can hear that and think, am I not supposed to be happy in my marriage? So if this person is acting like a crazy person and it doesn't matter as long as I'm holy, could you just touch on that subject?
I'm going to let Pastor Wale answer that because that's him that says, marriage is not supposed to make you happy, it's supposed to make you holy. I think marriage is supposed to make you happy and holy. But
marriage will make you happy eventually. Okay. But the whole purpose of marriage is two people coming from different backgrounds, maybe different cultures, like two pieces of sandpaper rubbing against each other until they're smooth. So marriage is meant to help you become more and more
Christ-like.
Okay.
Make you a better person.
I was going to use the word pliable, but maybe it's not as good a word. Until you're pleasing God and you're pleasing each other. That's when the happiness comes in. But if you go into marriage looking for happiness and there are still areas where conflict will arise because you haven't yet learned to be patient, to be tolerant, to be forgiving, then there will be problems. So that's why I said marriage is not instituted to make you happy, but to make you holy. The happiness will come, and it's important.
Okay. How would you say marriage should influence wider communities, and is that possible?
Yes, I do. I do think it's possible because, first of all, you're living your life, especially for us, where as pastors, it's like you're living in a fishbowl. Everybody's seeing what you're doing. Everybody's interpreting whatever you do, whatever you're on the spotlight. So therefore you live, although I believe everybody should live a conscious life, knowing that, people are watching you and your life should be an example. And I believe that, we've tried very hard to make our marriage an example so that people know that it's possible to have a marriage that works. We're not pretending, we're just being who we are. So which means it's possible. Because every time I'm counseling people, I would say, look, it's possible. I never think, oh, there's no way there. It's possible, but it's going to take a lot of give and take. It's going to take a lot of tolerance. It's going to take a lot of persistence. And it's a conscious decision you have to make. That this marriage has to work or you want it to work. And sometimes I think people are also colored by where they're coming from. If you're coming from a broken home, either you're going to decide that, it's going to end up broken anyway, or you're going to decide it's not, this one is going to work. It's not going to be where I'm coming from.
I say that the family is at the center of a community. And when it's well, when things are going well in the family, things will go well in the community. But if a family is broken down or if you have dysfunctional families, you're going to have dysfunctional communities. Now, so if you have a Christ-like family, it is, first of all, more likely to breed Christ-like families from within it, and other families will see something to emulate. So you should have a community that becomes Christ-like. Now, there's no better place to train a child's values than in the family. So lots and lots of things are happening in the family that will have an impact on the community. And I think that we need to be cognizant of that so that we realize the effect that our decisions, our choices will have on the community.
Okay, fantastic.
And it's also very important when you're sharing with other people that you're speaking from a position of truth. Like, I've been there. I know that, this can work. I know that if you're putting in a bit more, it will work, So, and as I said, there are no pretenses, So I'm not going to counsel you based on, I'm better than you, I know better than you. It's not that. It's that, these things are possible. It's what can you put into it yourself, So I think it's very important that, we also not just be an example, but live as an example.
Yeah.
Not just talk it, but live it so that people can.
And Pastor Wale, I know you just touched on this a little bit, but what would you say are the key differences between a marriage that has Christ at the center and a marriage that doesn't?
I don't know, because I don't know.
You don't know what is you don't know the other side of the coin.
I don't know the other side of the coin, but I mean, except from looking at other people.
Okay.
Christ makes a lot of difference because he gives you the grace to even go through, the times that are difficult. He gives you the wisdom,
capacity,
and the capacity, and to go through it. So I guess that's the difference. If you don't have Christ, then I guess you probably won't have those advantages, of wisdom, grace, patience, all the gifts of the Spirit that help us, to be better people.
Okay. What chief duties would you say that a husband has to their wife and a wife to their husband in a marriage?
Well, I would take off from the Bible, which says, love your wife as Christ loved the church. I think wives need to be cherished, need to have God's love demonstrated to them in a way that men don't need to. Men don't need to be told, I love you very often. So I think that's the first responsibility, and everything begins to flow out from there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a husband's role really as well is to show the love of God. The way, so sometimes you say, this God must love me so much more if this guy, feels like this about me. And for men, I think respect is the key thing. Men don't, as he said, they don't need to be mollycoddled, and well, some do, I guess. Shower the kisses and hugs all the time.
Yeah.
But show some respect, for your husband and his decisions. You may not always agree with them, but you can respect them.
Yeah.
And in respecting them, you give your view. If it's wrong, he may come round, So, but that respect is that you don't try and lord it over him with, I'm right, this is where he has to go,
So speaking of parenting styles, how do you come together as a unit to parent? And what happens with couples that have completely different parenting styles or don't agree on their parenting styles?
Well, one thing is for sure. The children will soon discover that their parents have different parenting styles, and they will play on it. So they just have to sit down and agree on a style, whether it's in between or, one person take the lead. Whatever it is, they've got to agree on a parenting style. And then the modern parenting is all about naughty corners, and
gentle parenting.
To my generation, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There has to be a lot more firmness, because they say, is it Gen Z? They are very entitled, or is it millennials are entitled?
It's Gen Z.
Gen Z.
I don't know which is which, but anyway.
Yeah, and so when it comes to parenting styles, there just has to be agreement. Otherwise, the children will take advantage of them.
They've been doing it from generations past. They're still doing it, and they will always do it. They will always play one parent against the other, especially when they know that there's a disagreement. I know that with one of mine, it's like, it's like, don't tell daddy I gave you money so that you can still get daddy's money. Sometimes you have to do that, because you may see the need for the child to have a bit more.
Right.
And your husband doesn't see the need for the child to have that much more. So you find a way of squeezing, and then, okay, don't let him know. I believe that, you have to be careful and manage information sometimes.
Okay. Well, my mom says, when I'm talking about my kids and, she visits and she always says, I don't know how you do it, because she was like, parenting is so different now than it was then. And my mom has 4 kids and I just have 2. So when she says that, I'm thinking, I remember her carting the 4 of us together. We were always together. So I don't know how she did it. But what would you say are some of the challenges that you can see to parenting now versus before?
I think the children now, the young ones, are a lot more intelligent.
Okay.
They're savvy with the, what do you call these
Tech
things?
savvy,
They're
yes.
tech savvy.
Yeah.
You need to know that they're a lot more intelligent than you sometimes, and acknowledge that, So we're still learning. So we're learning even from the younger ones, I mean, my grandson he knows a lot more than I do about tech, and he's only 5. So that says a lot about me. Yeah.
Pastor Wale, is anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, most certainly. Fundamentally, parenting is still the same.
Okay.
The importance of parenting is instilling values in your children. That still has to be done. And still the carrot on the stick. Whether the naughty corner is the stick, or there's a real stick, it's still the same as it always has been. The problems arise now because parents don't have enough time. Okay, and a lot of children don't see their fathers very much, and it just, a child needs.
Oh, the CEO mother.
Yeah. The child needs input from a father and a mother. And if they're both busy and delegating their parenting responsibilities to third parties, whether that's the nanny, whether that's the grandparents, it's they need you.
Yeah.
It's the story of Dad, you've given me all these presents, but I want you, not the presents.
Yeah.
So I think time. It's not about finding time.
It's
about making time.
Yeah. I like that, making time.
The presents are still good.
Of course. Time is very, very valuable. Yes. Well, Pastor Wale, Pastor Laolu, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
But thank you so much for coming.
Problem.
Thank
it's been
you
a
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you. I'm sure we can all agree that was extremely insightful. I learned that quality time, patience, and Christ at the center is very integral to a successful marriage. A big thank you to Pastor Wale and Pastor Laolu Adefarasin for such wisdom of nuggets. And we will see you next time. Thank you. Come and join me as we delve into, what is the word? Choose essence. I knew it was always there.
Now we're blocking the camera.